What is up, mental patients? My name is Tormentor, and I'm doing another top 10 list. If you haven't checked out the previous top 10 lists, you should be able to find them easily in my Town of Salem playlist, or in the recent uploads, or what have you. This is the top 10 neutral evil roles that should be added to Town of Salem from my own list, because, why not keep it in the family? Number 10 is the Burglar. The Burglar, being a neutral evil role, is, of course, neutral evil. Hey, uh, as the Burglar, you steal an action from one person each night. This reduces their abilities by one. So, for example, if you steal a bullet from the Vigilante, he can shoot one less time. If you steal from the Janitor, he can clean one less time. Yes, you are hurting your own chances if you go after an evil person, but, them's the breaks. That's what happens when witches accidentally make the Mafia kill the Mafia. You have the ability to screw yourself over by mistake. If you steal a bulletproof vest from, the Bodyguard, the Survivor, you will wear it the night you steal it. So that means that you can be night immune if you steal the vest from someone else. If you steal from a veteran who is on alert, I would think, since you're a burglar, you're good at getting around being unseen. You're like a cat burglar. You're like Catwoman. And that would mean I would think that you could steal a bullet from the veteran and, take away his ability to go on alert that night. If that seems OP, of course, that's up for debate. You win with anybody who wins with Witch. I mean, that's pretty much the same thing. You're neutral evil, so you win with anybody who wins with neutral evil. And the key thing is you go along basically trying to help the Mafia, serial killer, arsonist, werewolf, the evil killer roles by stealing from people and stealing away the abilities of others. Number 9 is the Saboteur. The Saboteur selects one person each night to randomize their targets no matter who they choose. So in other words, if I'm the Saboteur and I select the Sheriff, then from then on, his target is going to be randomly chosen for him. He won't be able to choose who he's checking out. The random targets will not include you as the Saboteur, so people won't be able... You won't, randomly choose somebody, and then they find you because you randomized their target and they picked you. So it's sort of like a little safeguard. The randomization only ends if you die. It could be by execution, by being murdered, it could be by lynching. However you die, then the randomization ends. This is especially fun, I think, because you could randomize the doctor, and the doctor would randomly heal people. And I would think that, at the beginning of the night, after the night when you choose somebody, at the beginning of the next night, it would say to the person, a Saboteur has, done this and the other thing. So you have instead healed Tormentor. So that way you would know who you're healing. It's not like it would be randomized and you wouldn't know who you healed, but you would randomly heal somebody, but you'd be told who you used your ability on. So if you're, again, the Sheriff, and you get randomized, it would say, you randomly interrogated Tormentor, and, he was not suspicious, or whatever the result would be. So it's not totally game-breaking. It doesn't completely ruin someone's ability, but it does randomize things so they can't actually check who they wanted, and, maybe they'll get some good information or bad information, based on who they check. The Freak is an especially fun role. Now, the Freak is like my Conjurer role for Town. And, some of these roles may seem similar to other roles, but keep in mind that, in terms of the suggestions, none of these have been added, so, something being similar to something else doesn't really matter. The Freak selects one living player and one dead player to make one use their ability on the other. So, in other words, if you choose a living player on the left and a dead player on the right, like when a witch controls someone against someone else, you'll control the living person against the dead person. You can also swap this and use the dead person against the living person. You can only use living on dead or dead on living. You can't use two living people against each other. You can't use two dead people against each other. Just nothing would happen if you did that. It's basically only living on dead or dead on living, and that's it. So this is restricted to actions they can actually do while in their current dead or alive state. So, for example, you can't make a dead escort rollblock, but you can make a dead jester kill somebody you choose. So if the jester gets hung, and, certain people vote guilty, you'd still be able to make the Jester kill any living player you wanted, because you're using the dead player against the living player. You can't make a living Jester kill a corpse, because that wouldn't make sense. But you can do, basically you get the idea. It's either living on dead or dead on living. You could even do something like make a janitor clean a corpse that was already dead previously. Anything that a living player can do to a dead player, you can make that person do that to them. Anything a dead player could do to a living player, you could make that do to them. You could make the medium seance somebody or they don't want to. So, you could do stuff like that. You could make a retributionist bring back an evil player. Imagine that, forcing the retributionist to bring back a mafioso. That would be crazy. You can make a vigilante shoot a corpse and waste their bullet. You can make an amnesiac choose a role from the graveyard. There's a lot of crazy shit you could do with this. And, as I said, it may seem OP. But remember, you're only using dead on living, living on dead. You're not allowed to use dead on dead, living on living. And, you're not going to be doing stuff like having a dead escort rollblock somebody. You're not going to have a dead bodyguard guard somebody. It strictly is, if the player has an ability they can do while they're dead, you can use that ability against somebody. So there you go. Number 7 is the Pirate. Yar har har. The Pirate, probably the name sounds more awesome than it actually is, but the Pirate can kidnap one person each night for the following day. So if I select you at night, you're gone the next day. You're not there, to play. You would come back after that day. Like the day after that, you would be back, unless I select to kidnap you again. Kidnapped players are not present the next day to speak, vote, or be voted on. So if I am Tormentor, and I kidnap Magnusword, first of all, I feed him way too much pie, more than he would ever want, in my basement chained to the radiator, but enough about future plans. If I kidnap Magnusword, that means that the next day, it'll say to the town, Magnusword has been kidnapped by a pirate. And Magnusword won't be there in the town. He won't be able to speak, won't be able to vote, won't be able to do any day abilities, if he has abilities during the day, and he won't be able to be voted for. They can't vote to lynch him. The next day, if I select to kidnap someone else, then of course Magnusword will be back. But if the next night, I decide, well, I'm going to kidnap Magnusword again, then he'll still be gone. The thing with this is it might need to be limited in usage, like maybe you can only do it 3 times or 4 times or something. But, that's to be determined. Everything is immaterial, nothing's set in stone, things can always be worked out. You win with rolls that win with the witch, of course, but the thing is, when you kidnap somebody, you can use that to any benefit. For example, if the town knows a mafia member, and they say, tomorrow we're going to hang this person who's obvious mafia, then you can kidnap that mafia member and they can't vote for them the next day, because the mafia member's not there to be voted on. Can't be lynched because he's not, he's been hijacked somewhere, he's been shanghaied by a pirate. And, yeah, it can also help for things like kidnapping the mayor. Oh shit, the mayor revealed on day 1, and then on day 2 a pirate has him kidnapped and he can't vote. At number 6 we have a role that many people have wanted, and, it may be questionable as to whether it would be good or bad for the game, but I say, let's try it. The spoiler is neutral evil, of course. You can select one non-town member to bring back to life. So you're basically a neutral evil retributionist. You can bring back one person, and only one, but they cannot be a town member. That is the only restriction. You can bring back a mafia member, you could bring back a neutral killing, you can bring back a survivor, or an amnesiac, or a witch. Anyone who's not town, you can bring back. If you don't use your resurrection before you die, you can bring yourself back. The thing is, you have to realize, like you're probably saying, Tormentor, that is OP. You'd be able to bring back a serial killer? That's way too OP. Well, here's the thing. If you bring back the serial killer, everyone's going to know that they're the serial killer. So you got to use your powers wisely. You got to know what you're doing. You got to figure out exactly what your plan is going to be. And of course, you have to realize with all these roles, too, you're not night immune. So, you can just randomly die at any time without even having used your powers. And if you come back yourself, people are going to know you're neutral evil and you're the spoiler, so you have to play that careful too. You can't bring someone back if you resurrect yourself. That's your one usage. And as I wrote in the comments, this is a straight up roll for assholes. Here's something to think about with this roll. If you're the witch, if you're the survivor, if you're an amnesiac who didn't remember anything before they got killed, what is the reason for you to stick around in the game? You might as well quit because you just lost. If you had a spoiler available and possible, that would give you more of a reason to keep playing because maybe you're going to get brought back. Maybe the survivor will be brought back by the spoiler, and the spoiler will, make an alliance with them. If you're the witch, maybe the spoiler will bring you back and ask you if you knew, who the killers were. You basically have to think about it in certain ways that kind of are outside the box. Halfway through the list, we've got number 5, the Widow. As the Widow, you select one person at night to seduce. Now, if I select, I don't know, who would be someone I would seduce? If I select, I don't know, Magnusword. My go-to character for everything that I want to make an example of. If I select to seduce Magnusword, like I bring him hot tea and crumpets, if he dies during the night, I can select again, to have a different person to seduce. Once you seduce somebody, they become like your target, like the Executioner. If the target you seduced is lynched during the day, you win and become night immune. So this is sort of like a reverse Executioner. You may be saying to yourself, this is a more OP or more nerfed version of the Executioner. Either way, shut up. You're choosing who your target is, which is what the Executioner doesn't get to do. Your target can be town or they can be evil, because you're choosing them. That's something the Executioner doesn't get to do. However, you're not immune until you get your target hung, which is a nerf from the Executioner. So as you can see, it builds on the Executioner, and it takes things away from the Executioner to create a new role that encourages a new type of play. So, for example, if you think like somebody is going to be doomed, you can, seduce them that night and hope the next day that they get lynched. But then again, they might make a comeback, and they might, win the game, and you're kind of screwed. This is based on, like, the Black Widow stories where you're, like, marrying someone or seducing someone and then killing them for their money or whatever, Number 4 is the Jinx. The Jinx wins with anyone who wins with Witch, just like everybody else, pretty much, except for, I'm trying to clarify if you have different win conditions. If I miss any, you can go through the thread in the link below and read it. As the Jinx, you have up to 3 nights where you can jinx all people who visit you. So if you select yourself at night, anyone who visits you is going to be jinxed, okay? If somebody is jinxed, anything they try to do will be roll blocked from there forward. Isn't that crazy? If you die, it's undone, and players can unjinx themselves if they select you again. So here's an example of how it works. I am the Jinx, okay? I select myself during the night, and you visit me. Like you try to blackmail me, you try to investigate me, you try to do whatever. That gets roll blocked, because now you visited the Jinx, and now you're going to be roll blocked. Every following night when you try to do something, you're going to be roll blocked again, and you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? There's a consort or an escort blocking me or whatever. But if you check me again, like if you try to blackmail me again, you try to investigate me again, if you try to do whatever your night ability is, if you do that to me again, you're unjinxed, which undoes my ability. So now you actually did the thing to me. You actually blackmailed me. You actually investigated me. And you have been cured of the curse that I put upon you. I just think that this would be a really cool thing, because you're basically just sitting there. You're almost like a veteran, but you're a veteran for role blocking. So instead of killing somebody, everybody who visits you gets role blocked from there forward unless they come back to you. And, it would take them trying to realize, why do I keep getting blocked? Who keeps blocking me? And then they would say, wait a minute. And they would go back to check on you, visit you, and they'd be unjinxed and say, oh no, I just found the Jinx. The only thing I would think is that probably to make it more fair, neutral killing roles probably would be immune to your ability and would just kill you straight off when they visit. I would think, maybe Godfather could be affected. Godfather could be susceptible to your tricks. But serial killer, arsonist, werewolf probably would just kill you anyway. Number 3 is the Hermit, and the Hermit is a bit of a lengthy role here, so I'll put the link below, as I said, and you can read through if you want. You win with anyone but town. All attempts at investigating you will be role-blocked, meaning that, if anybody tries to, the consigliere, the sheriff, the investigator, if they come to find out who you are, they'll be role-blocked when they try to find out who you are. It's not something that will role-block them in the future. They just get role-blocked if they check you. You have night immunity until you vote in the town. So the minute you vote for anybody at any time, you lose your night immunity. So basically, as I said, you're role-blocking people who come to check up on you, and you're night immune from being killed. However, you lose that once you start taking part in town events, because you're the Hermit. You're supposed to be segregated off by yourself. The reason that you are night immune is because you're hiding outside of town. You're a hermit. You live by yourself. Nobody knows where you live. You just go off into the mountains and nobody sees you again, or the forest, or whatever. People are role-blocked when they try to check on you because they can't find your ass. You're just out in the woods somewhere. Once you vote, you're basically making your alliance known to town. You're like becoming part of town. So that means you're not going to be able to hide anymore. You're not going to be immune. This role is like an executioner for all town members. All you're trying to do is get all the town members killed so you can be on your own. I just think this would be a fun role. It's one of those things where people will probably say, well, all it is you just can't be investigated and you're night immune. Well, yeah, but wouldn't that be kind of fun? That you load up the round and it says your role is Hermit. And so you're kind of like, okay, geez, I just need to live to see all town lose. That's it. I'm not killing the town personally by my own hand. I'm not controlling town members. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just basically here to survive and make sure none of the town members survive. And then when it gets down in the votes, and there's not enough votes to hang one of the town members, then you have to pitch in. You have to vote to hang somebody because your vote is needed, and after that, you're no longer night immune. So Vigilante could shoot you, the Mafia could kill you if they want to, whatever. Number 2 on the list is the Tormentor. And, there must be something pretty good on this list if the one I named after myself isn't number 1. Am I right? The Tormentor is neutral evil, or Tormentor if you want to call it, whatever. You select one person each night to role block, so you're basically like a neutral evil escort, except for the fact that the person you select to role block will see false messages that they were attacked instead of the role block notice. So in other words, if I choose to role block you, you're not going to see, you were role blocked by the Tormentor. You're just going to see, a serial killer tried to kill you last night, but you were healed. Or, an arsonist doused you, and then the next night I role block you again, and you see, an arsonist doused you again, or whatever. It's random death notices, random evil notices against you, to make you go crazy. To torment you. To destroy your mind. To make you randomly rant and rave in day chat, saying, I was doused again, and people say, but there's no arsonist possible, and you're like, I know what I saw! And then everybody hangs you for being a lunatic. And now, the number 1 most needed neutral evil role in town of Salem, based on my own lists for some reason. The Boogeyman! Dun dun dun! Scary noises here, ominous music. The Boogeyman would be... Basically, I feel like this would be the new role everybody would wish they would get. Like, when you get the Boogeyman role, you'd be like, aw, yeah. And if you don't get the Boogeyman role, you'd be like, aw, I wish I had gotten the Boogeyman. You select one player at night to receive all actions that would have been targeted at you instead of you. You got that? Basically, all you're doing is saying, at night, I'm going to click this person's button, and this person is going to get everything I would have gotten tonight. So if a doctor went to heal you, it would go to that person instead. If an investigator went to check you, they'd go to that person instead. If a serial killer tries to kill you, it goes to that person instead. You get what I'm saying? You're basically just a living, walking, breathing redirect. You just direct everybody who would have come at you to this other person. You can't be killed by the veteran for picking them. You know, different things like that. So you can direct everybody who would have come at you to the veteran if you want. You win against any single player from any faction. That means that the Boogeyman wins over the Godfather, over the serial killer, over the arsonist, over the werewolf. The Boogeyman wins over anybody. But the trick is it has to be just you and that other player left. So if there's 2 mafia members left, they're going to hang you. If there's a serial killer and an arsonist left, you've got to hang one of them. The alternative is that the thing just draws. So you got to just really try to work things out, try to get people killed, try to make sure that you and one other person are the last people standing, or just you. And that's about it. It's pretty much a sort of like a god role in the game in that you win over everyone else, but you're going to have a hell of a time trying to get to that point. So you do have a lot of work ahead of you, but you get a really cool payout at the end. I just really think that there's an awesome factor to this in that you are sort of a secret kink in the entire plan. You're like the unseen, you're the Boogeyman. You're the unseen monster in the round who's taking everything that people try to throw at you and you're forcing it onto some other poor schlub. So that is the top 10 neutral evil roles that need to be in Town of Salem, based solely on my own list. If you have a suggestion or a comment or whatever, put it below in the comments. That's why they call them comments. If you have a link to something on the forum that you posted, put that there. If you have something you changed, something you want to see, whatever, just let me know. Just put it down there. I read every comment. I don't always respond, but I do read them. Yeah, so all we have left now is the neutral killing video, which will be the final video, except for maybe a bonus after that. There might be a little bonus! There might be a bonus video!